Hello everyone, my name is Nari Kang, and today I'm going to present about second language acquisition difference in the cognitive consideration. So, my question was, adults or learners who pass puberty are said to learn their second language with difficulties. And I had to explain this using Piaget's equilibration hypothesis and cognitive developmental stages to find out why is it hard to learn a second language after puberty. So let's begin. First, the cognitive developmental stages are going to be discussed. First stage is the sensory motor stage, which is from birth to age 2. This is when children learn about the world through their senses and through actions. In the process of developing object permanence or understanding that objects continue to exist when they cannot be seen is to be found in this stage. So as you can see in the picture, the baby is using his eyes and hands in order to discover about an object. Second is the pre-operational stage, which is from ages 2 to 7. This is when children begin to think and understand the world symbolically. They're also egocentric, meaning people see the same as these children do. They're self-centered. They can also identify objects, but not classify them into different subgroups, nor identify certain dimensions of height and size. So as you can see in the picture here, this time a child is looking at two glasses filled with juice and trying to identify which has more and less. Next is the operational stages. They're divided into two. First one is the concrete operational stage, which is from ages 7 to 11. Children are less egocentric and are able to think logically about concrete events. They also have a knowledge of how other people think and feel, but they still have difficulties with their abstract thinking. Second is the formal operational stage, which is from ages 11 to 16. In this stage, they are no longer children, but an adolescent, and we can say that they're in the puberty stage. This is where abstract ideas can be dealt with. Thinking systematically and reasoning is possible. Since we have discussed about the cognitive developmental stages, we're going to move on to the equilibration hypothesis. Equilibration hypothesis can be explained using schema, accommodation, assimilation, equilibration. Equilibration hypothesis. Schema is a basic building block that enables us to form a mental representation of the world. We also have accommodation, which is creating or adjusting a new schema, assimilation, fitting new experience to an existing cognitive structure, and the cycle goes on and on until a child is able to reach equilibration, the balance of old and new thoughts. You might be wondering, what does this mean? You get that there's a basic block of body that enables us to get an understanding of the world, but you don't know what accommodation and assimilation is. Let me explain further in detail. Let's say a child sees a dog. It's four-legged, has a tail, and it's furry. Then the child learns it and developed a schema of a dog. Accommodation is when, for example, a child sees a goat, but knowing that the child has a schema of a dog which has four legs, a tail, and it's furry, the child will think that a goat is a dog. So now in accommodation, just like the one before, it's creating or adjusting a new schema. In this point, the child is going to try to balance the schema of a dog and a goat. So now what happens is assimilation occurs. This is when the child is able to think that The similarities between a dog and a goat is that they're both four-legged with a tail and are furry. But a new concept or idea is being accepted by the child, knowing that a goat has a horn. So now the child finally has a schema of a dog and a goat, and this cycle continues to reach equilibration, where a child can differentiate between a dog and a goat. You might understand what a schema, accommodation, assimilation, and equilibration is, but you might be thinking, what exactly is the importance of the equilibration? Equilibration helps us to match with concepts and make sense of the world. If not, disequilibration occurs, meaning there's a discrepancy between what is perceived and understood. If disequilibration occurs, there's a possibility that a child is going to panic or not understand or get a fear of the world due to not balancing between what is perceived and understood. Summarize everything that I have discussed so far. So children or learners who are under puberty stage are unable to think intellectually and systematically. Their equilibrium state is still in the process of being developed, but on the other hand, with adults or past puberty stage, can think intellectually and systematically. Their equilibrium state is maintained, but if a new idea or concept is experienced, this equilibrium occurs. So we can say that children learn unconsciously and keep adding up the information since they have difficulty with abstract thinking ability. While on the other hand, adults may use their old information to reach the equilibrium state. So now, my question for all of you is, could there be a possibility for all learners after puberty to acquire second language by accepting the new information without comparing to the old, and eventually acquiring language easier than when a person is trying to adjusting it to the old schema? I came up with this discussion question thinking that back when I was a high school student, there was this period where my brain could no longer process information that are new. So what I did was just accept every input without comparing it to what I have stocked in my head. So if that's the case, saying that children acquire language easier than adults. If adults can acquire language without using the equilibrium, can they acquire language easily as well? Is my question to you. That's it. Thank you for listening to my presentation.